There we go. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yes.
Perfect.
How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing all right, man. I've got coffee in hand. Life is good.
Good. Well, my space started with a panic. Unable to fetch space is the error that I was getting, and I was wondering when you guys were going to launch your platform so that we don't have to deal with this stuff.
Yeah, I was thinking that myself. I'm like, yeah, this is another reason why we need what we're doing.
Yeah, Jesus, I really like X and I love what Elon has done to it. It kind of fixed a lot of things. But I don't know about you. We've had a couple of issues with spaces in the past, and it's quite often that you get to participate in a space that you're enjoying, and all of a sudden you're cut out, or the host just closes abruptly, and I don't know. It's very odd for such a big platform to have uh, these problems. It's kind of a mess right now. So, Chief, sorry for this weird start. Usually we start off with some uh, just general bullshit that we talk about, and then we introduce our guest, but we kind of ran late with these technical issues. Um, so, if you don't mind, tell us about yourself. Where are you from? Are you, I believe, Australian?
Yeah, that's correct. I'm from the big wide world down under,
Mm-hmm.
so Australia. I basically have been in business for 20 years, doing this, that, the other. Got into crypto, I'm going to say 2021.
Mm-hmm.
It's probably late 2020, early 2021. And it started because of Doge. My brother told me go buy some Doge, so I did, and I watched the number go up, and then I watched the number go down. And I was curious though about the whole production element of it, and I thought that was actually really interesting, and decided to buy some GPUs. Bought uh, more GPUs and ended up with about 30. Um, and spent a lot of time researching what were the best coins to mine, finding locations to store these GPUs so that they could be, mined effectively and cheaply. Um, and then Ethereum decided to go into proof of stake, which was a little bit of a problem.
Yeah.
And have sort of endured what I consider to be lower than normal rewards for that whole kind of last 2 years. But sort of around 2023, I sat down in about November and penned what is now the white paper for Telestai. It had been an idea that I'd watched culturally evolve to the point where I felt like it was time to try and do something myself.
Mm-hmm.
And, um, you know, after penning that kind of white paper, which, has also been called a manifesto, so to speak,
Yep.
I chased a couple of coders and eventually um, found Zach. Zach and I sat down and talked about what the project was supposed to be about and how we we're trying to make it all happen. And so he's effectively a co-founder, and he and I have been building since essentially, and we've sort of gathered a small team around us, which is very dedicated to what we're trying to do. I suppose you'd sort of suggest that my involvement in crypto is above average in terms of involvement.
Mm-hmm.
That's probably pretty fair. I think that there's a huge opportunity when it comes to projects to actually just have application of blockchain and its actual use built in and around it. So if you build a project, it's one thing to build it. There's a lot of talk at the moment around deep in and real world assets and all that type of stuff, which is great. But actually building it so that it's real is sort of the piece that I think a lot of
Challenge.
projects miss.
But it's a big challenge for a lot of projects to actually deliver on something that is tangible for the user base. So we are all familiar with extremely promising projects that pave the way for technological innovation, but we're always waiting for that project to deliver something that is of use for everybody. And I think what you're offering is the right product. Everybody loves, hates, but still uses social platforms. And to have a decentralized social platform, well, I think it's the kind of product that we need right now in this time, to also validate all the efforts that have been done to make this space relatable and reliable. So just we went through your white paper a while ago. Oh, by the way, both me and Deso are proof of work fans. We are all for proof of work. We were the first ones to be disappointed about the change from proof of work to proof of stake by Ethereum. We are always extremely bullish when a project comes up and confirms the will to go ahead with the proof of work. We love we love the idea of your project. We love the idea that it's coming from a fork of, I believe it's Ravencoin, yeah.
Yeah, so the whole premise behind the fork is essentially to utilize the prog power variant and to have access to the asset layer that's already built into Ravencoin, which we will be making use of, but just in a different way to what Ravencoin envisaged.
Okay, so you're continuing with a proof of work narrative, which is again excellent. It makes me extremely happy. But just for the guys that are listening to you for the first time and are not familiar with your project, how would you shield this? How would you sum up the concept behind Telestai?
So the concept is probably easily summed up by calling Telestai an ecosystem of decentralized, censorship-resistant, and privacy-based social media, essentially. So that's the 40,000-foot view. We can go as into detail on that as possible, but that's the real summary of it.
And what do you envision to be or actually, how would you explain to a normie person that is first coming to this space of what you're offering that is different in respect to traditional social media?
Okay, that's the great question. Right. So traditional social media, generally speaking, and let's just use Meta as an example here with their
Yeah.
Facebook platform. They have centralized location, they have centralized leadership, and they have a centralized infrastructure for technology. So most of Meta's server base is split between, I think it's Amazon and Google from the time that I researched it, and I think they have a certain amount that's on their own. But the point is that everything resides on their hardware, right? Now,
Mm-hmm.
that has pros and cons. The pros to that is they have direct control over the platform itself, which means they've got a really easy sort of path to improvement. They've got a really easy path to implementing changes that they feel is necessary. That whole centralized leadership thing means it's driven by a core team, that central team that drives out what they're doing to the rest of the base, and everything comes basically home to roost on their infrastructure. So centralized platforms do have benefits, but
Mm-hmm.
within that that sort of benefit lies a lot of the challenge as well. So where these challenges come about is centralized platforms do censor. and just recently I put a video up of Mark Zuckerberg effectively apologizing for having interference on the platform by other parties effectively. So he talked about the US government as interfering with sort of what they were doing, and other parties interfering with. Second part is that they also scan all of the data, or they scrape all the data of the users and they sell it. Third part is that they implement their own policies for moderation, and because that's centralized, what they end up doing is they apply an algorithm or an AI agent to basically seek out certain core words or certain things, and then basically straight away snap it. They prevent it from actually continuing to be viewed, and they take those posts down. Now you can review those posts. And recently, I had a friend who, in the industry that I work in, 9 to 5, she basically utilizes her Instagram account to sell most of what she's doing, and utilize it from a commercial point of view. And she, it's quite critical to her ongoing, commercial life. She mentioned something, a word that was scanned, and basically her entire account was shut down. And it took her the equivalent of a week and a half to actually get it back up, and required her to spend a significant amount of money to upgrade her account to certain levels in order to actually just get the chance to talk to someone. Now, that's the danger of centralized platforms. Now, what we're proposing is actually, we don't have a central platform. We don't have a central location where our data is stored. So there's two parts to this. Our network will be run on a node base. What Zach is basically coding is something very similar to mining nodes, where the actual information will be stored on these decentralized locations and allow redundancy. So if one node goes down, other nodes can pick it up. The second part to that is we've partnered with Flux, which is really fantastic. And what we're going to be working with them on is actually having content creators allow their content to be stored on decentralized platforms. Now, there's a lot of benefit with that. Firstly, is it allows us to scale efficiently and very easily, because we don't have to worry about significant data centers and the storage requirements there. We basically just hand the keys to the content creator, so this is what you need to do, and off and away they go, right? So their storage is totally resolved, and we don't need to handle the purchase or the storage of servers, right? That's great. The challenge philosophically that comes with that is obviously the moderation piece, and there's a legal element to this, which is something that took myself and to some degree Zach as well, because he and I have talked about this a fair bit. This has been the hurdle that we need to jump through, which is, how do you keep the platform safe from content that shouldn't be on there? An example that we raise is Mastodon has some challenges with some of the instances they run, or federated instances that they run, and those instances actually have content on them that isn't good, right? You don't want what they've got on those instances.
Could you share an example? What kind of content wouldn't you want on the platform?
I assume criminal?
Yes. So one part of it is criminal, one part of it is ideological, and there's a debate over whether that ideological one should be allowed or not. But I don't know if you're familiar with the term CSAM. I don't want to say, because I don't want to get you guys in trouble, but just think pictures of kids and stuff that shouldn't be. That type of stuff is really prevalent in Mastodon, in a certain area of their federations, and they have a huge let's call it hardcore right wing Nazi. I'll just say. I don't think.
I think you can say Nazis as long as you don't support them. I don't think it's an issue.
Yeah. So they've got a massive right wing Nazi problem sitting on their platform. Now that's an interesting philosophical debate, right? Because in reality, they're not breaking the law per se with what they are doing. It's just that what their ideology is distasteful and not something that you want on a platform, right? Now, our challenge has been, how do you keep that type of stuff off, right? The other part is, a couple of years ago there was that unfortunate incident where someone live streamed an act of violence, or a significant act of violence on Facebook, and Facebook copped a lot of flack about it. And to some extent, I actually have some empathy to them for that, because you can't monitor every single tidbit of information, right? There's got to be some level of responsibility on the part of the user. But that sort of content needs to be kept off the platform as best as possible. So what we're going to be doing is deploying an AI moderation piece, which will scan stuff that actually is going to be posted and ensure that it complies with what we're going to call it basically the charter. That charter is like a terms of service. That will mean that people will be very clear of what is acceptable and not acceptable on the platform, and the AI moderator will neutrally go through and moderate accordingly. Now, that's step one of the process. Step two of the process is we'll have a voting system on there. So, if people see that something slipped through the AI moderation, they can vote on it to essentially bring it out, and it'll require a number of votes to actually be taken off the platform. That's sort of the backup that we've got. So that's why decentralized is essentially a means for us to help people say what they want to say without fear of the big Facebook monster or X monster moderating them, because the real piece to this that has emerged in the last few years is both content creators have been screwed for the money that they're earning, so they're getting nothing for what they produce, right? So I imagine you're getting nothing for producing this content, right? Like that's not right. In my opinion, content creators deserve the right to be able to monetize what they're producing. And in fact, what they're producing is actually what is paying the bills for all of these centralized platforms, right? So what we're doing is we're taking ourselves out of the equation, and we're saying to content creators, you have the right and the privilege to determine what of your content is going to be commercially remunerated, and you get to set the rules about what that remuneration is going to look like with your content, and also with your audience, right? If you charge too much, your audience won't pay it. So you've got to be in tune with what your audience is willing to pay too.
So you're telling me that I'm gonna get paid to do this stuff on your platform. You have me sold. Where do I sign up? How do I sign up?
So see, that's the thing, right? You get the chance to say to your audience, if you pay me 10 cents, you get all my content. If you have 10,000 subscribers, right? 10 cents is $1,000 a month, or however you want to monetize it, right? That's more than what you were receiving via YouTube before. So immediately you're on the positive. Now, if you have really compelling content, and let's just put a great example of this. Joe Rogan, right, has the largest podcast in the world at the moment. He, I don't think, gets anywhere near the monetization of what he, produces.
Deserves.
And if everyone would be happy to pay $1 a month to Joe Rogan to listen to his podcast, $1 a month, he has millions of subscribers, millions, right? Like that's the type of commercial reality that we want to bring to content creators. Another one is Red Panda Mining is a great example of a YouTube miner that I would pay for their content. Now they have 250,000 YouTube subscribers. I'd be happy to pay 50 cents a month for them. So when you look at it from a commercial point of view, like he should be making far more, and then if he is, then he gets the chance to actually produce more content and improve the quality of his content. So it becomes about a little bit of a capitalism from that perspective, right? Content creators all of a sudden are able to meet supply and demand a lot better. So that's what we're wanting to resolve.
I used to be a little bit skeptical on this type of platform. I remember back in the days when I started looking into fundamentals of other projects, that you had stuff like Veracity that used to propose the idea of a pay-per-view in which the user would be supporting the content creator, and I never really pictured it as a working platform until I saw the popularity behind stuff like Patreon, where people, as you're saying, are absolutely on board with the idea of rewarding the content creator for a job well done. So if you
absolutely,
I have one question. Are the viewers paying the content creator, or is this money coming from the platform itself, like from advertisements and all that?
This is the joy of it. Just like Bitcoin, where it is peer-to-peer, the content creator and the content user will be in a peer-to-peer relationship. The money goes straight to them, not to us. That's the way that we're going to be coding it. So we don't take a cent or a dime. That's kind of the point. Just to kind of hit on your point as well about the whole Patreon, right? So I don't know. You guys have cable TV, right? Like in Australia, there's a monopoly over here. Foxtel is the key one that has it, right? To buy a Foxtel package, you're paying like $80, $90, right? And you get all these channels that you don't want at all. The same goes for Netflix. You get all these movies and things that you don't want at all, right? Imagine being completely in charge of being able to select the content you want from those channels, and only paying for what you're using. And that's that's what we're trying to offer, right? We want to give people what they actually want, not the fluff. If people want it, they'll pay for it. If they don't want it, they don't pay for it, and they don't get it. And that's the consumer choice we're seeking.
Well, it's pretty it's straightforward. It's simple to envision, and again, considering that people are hungry for quality content, and it's becoming tiresome to look for quality content in a sea of garbage. Your platform does offer, let's say, everything that we would be looking for in a Web3 environment. But now the at least my hard-hitting question comes in: why do you think that you need this in Web3? Why do you need this to be on the blockchain? Why not offer the same service but on a normal Web2 environment?
That's actually a question I haven't been asked before. So well done for asking it. My response to that is, I think that in the same way the people at the time when Bitcoin was made is, why do you need this? We would answer the question with, you've got to look forward to where the future is moving from a digital perspective and from a human user perspective. And you've got to understand culturally that people want to be in charge of what they're consuming more so than ever before. And I don't know about you, but like, there's a lot of conversations that I've heard or been engaged with where people are just like, I really hate, Instagram. It's just overly commercialized. I really hate this, really hate that about social media. What I'm trying to kind of tap into with this is the fact that people are genuinely wanting to get away from the existing paradigms that they're involved in. And what we would like to do is offer them a way to, or a platform to pave the future. So that's part one. That's kind of the cultural element to it. The second element is actually, ironically, AI. And what I mean by that is today on X, you don't know what is and what isn't AI, right? Like that's
true.
Fact. The implementation of Zero, which is our digital ID, requires the user to basically be tied to an address effectively. And being tied to that address means that there's a level of provenance, what we call provenance, on the actual content that's being created. Now, provenance is essentially the idea of home, or you can source it back to its original location, right? That's what it is. So to be able to tie back content to the original creator, because it'll be timestamped on the blockchain, means you can identify who is and who isn't the source of that. And if you know that a certain content creator is AI, you can tag that as AI, right? Like you can immediately know, oh, that content creator is AI. So what we're trying to do is allow people the chance to disseminate between what is and what isn't real or human made. I actually think that's going to be far more important than what people realize, because if I go through, crypto is a great example at the moment. Is it Fartcoin that's been made that's been from an AI agent? And there's a couple of others at the moment.
Fartcoin is one of them,
yeah. So that is going to become a lot more prevalent. So in my personal perspective, you need to be able to identify who are those AI agents and who aren't they. Secondly, I can't remember who it was as in the person, but they were arguing with it was like Mark Cuban or something. He was arguing with an AI agent online.
No, it was Charles Cardano's. Charles
Hoskinson.
That's it. Yeah. So now, like, aside from the comedic value that brings to everyone, right? Like,
that's just insane. That stuff got me laughing.
Yeah, but you should be able to know what is and what isn't AI, right?
Well,
Like
I have to say,
basic.
X did literally put that it was a bot in the description. So the guy was literally discussing things with a refrigerator, and everybody could see it was a refrigerator, but he couldn't. So
Yeah,
we have to admit that that scenario was particularly stupid.
Yeah, but it does raise a good point. I would like to know to which if I'm speaking to a bot, a computer, AI, or am I talking to a real person, a real content creator? I would like to know the
Agreed.
difference.
Well,
I guess
consider
that's another way to control your bot population, right? You don't want to have a platform full of bots, like for example X.
sure.
Yeah.
We're all bots.
Yeah, we're all in the matrix. But that's a great point. Is I don't know how many. This has happened a couple of times in the last 6 months. I've woken up and my Twitter followers has been cut by 20, 40, 60. It doesn't matter, right?
Yep.
And I'm like, where did all those people go? Have I said something? But what it was is they've gone through and cleansed the bots again. And like, kudos to them for doing their job. But I'm like, how prevalent is this? How
did they get through in the first place?
That's right. So they're littered all through X, and Instagram's the same. Instagram has millions of bots, and so does Facebook. And getting away from that by creating the guardrails for that is what we're trying to do. So that's what Zeroa will do. It's that digital ID or digital fingerprint we're sort of calling it, and the aim with that is to completely make it financially irresponsible to load bots on at a scale that has happened before. So that's what we're looking to do. Yeah.
Well, it sounds like you have your job cut out for you, though. Especially now with AI literally being everywhere. AI agents they seem like they're an old thing now. In reality, it's been a couple of weeks since the whole idea went really mainstream. But you're absolutely right. We're flooded with AI everywhere. Content. I've pretended just for lulz. I pretended a couple of months ago to be a hot crypto lady on X just to see how many likes that would get me. And I just asked Grok to pretend I was a bikini girl. But the possibility of creating content out of nothing, which by the way is 99% of the time it's clearly unoriginal, and you can tell after a bit of effort. But it's getting so much better that it just feels like we're surrounded by AI, and you're always questioning whether the content that you're looking at is legit or not. Everybody seems to become an expert in something, writing long threads about stuff. But
the one that gets me is if you go on YouTube, right, and you search for a video on something. Let's say you look for a video with the recent Richard Dawkins and Jordan Peterson conversation, right? That was one that I was looking for. I got half a dozen videos of people who were giving their opinion on that podcast, and they'd cut a heap of the content, or they'd stitched a heap of the video out and put it into their own video, right? And their little talking head sitting down the bottom, and there's like 40 minutes of the Peterson and Dawkins talking, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then right at the end they give like a 2-minute wrap up of it. But what they've actually done is they've gamed the actual the YouTube algo, and
Mm-hmm.
what they're doing is they're making money off someone else's content.
That's right.
Because and YouTube is littered with examples of that, literally littered, right? How is that okay? And this is what happens when you have algorithms control payment structure, rather than the one-to-one, right? I would, if Lasco was, fully deployed right now, I would never see another one of those videos again, because they wouldn't make money, because people wouldn't pay for it.
Sure.
Because why would you?
Sure. Well,
so yeah.
Again, I really like the idea behind the project, and I see how much you guys have developed. I've seen, by the way, I'm part of as you know, of your community, and I'm lurking. I'm not as active as I would like to be because I have a lot of other research to do. But I have to say, you guys have been on the ball until now. You're interfacing with the community, and we can see that you're developing. You're sticking to the plan. You're developing something that you have envisioned a while ago. But one question I have in regards to what will be the end product is, what do you think that a user will be seeing? What kind of platform do you have in mind? Is it more of a Mastodon, X, of a YouTube platform? Is it a mix of everything? What do you think is going to be the graphical interface with which users are going to be interfacing?
So we have at the moment, or we're about to release at the moment, version 3 of Lasco, which is text-based only at this present time. We haven't integrated video elements. We've had a few people come in and have a look at it. The feedback so far that we've received is it's sort of a blend between Twitter and Reddit in one sense, in that there's like a thread form to things. So you make a post and then you can go into detail and work from that. So that's where it is at the moment. Where we want it to land is we want it to be able to have video and image-based content throughout that as well. Still with that same functionality of being able to post and comment on it, but just giving people the chance to post their video stuff. I think we'll land in sort of a blend of Reddit, Facebook, and X, essentially.
Okay.
And what I mean by that is, from a video content point of view, if you look at the way that Facebook and X handle their videos, it's that's probably how it will land for us. Now that's a I'm conscious Zach is listening at the moment, so he's probably like, "What are you doing?" But that's kind of where that's sort of where we're at the moment. That's where it's moving. The key part to all this is receiving feedback from the community, and that's what we're really keen to get. Is we really want people to buy into our development process and buy into giving feedback on that, because at the end of the day, we want this to be for users and we want this to be for content creators. So people like yourself should have an ability to feedback into that process for us and say, look, I wouldn't use it like this, but I'd use it like this. And then what we can do is work with that feedback to produce the best product possible. So we're not tied to a specific methodology on that in terms of the format, but we are tied to listening and trying to find our place in and amongst the other platforms that exist. And that will take a little bit of time to sort of work through, but it's we think integral to the process.
Well, I was asking simply because it's I think it's the most appealing part of social platforms are accessibility to them, and the moment that you're bringing something to the table that is familiar, that we're familiar with, whether it's a clone, because other projects have attempted that before, simply cloning an existing mainstream platform. But if you're proposing something that is a mixture of several things, that might also be particularly appealing, because at the end of the day, you're offering something that is different from mainstream. So again, you could be onboarding normies. It wouldn't be limited only to, let's say, experts of Web3 or people that are just enthusiasts about crypto. But you could actually be onboarding people that don't really care about all of this, but like the idea of decentralization, like the idea of peer-to-peer social platforms, and enjoy having multiple types of formats in a single place. That's actually pretty cool. So congratulations on the idea. I think it's a great one.
Yeah, thanks.
I'm sorry if I'm speaking over the other hosts. I didn't mean to take over like this. I just had one question that was I meant to do at the beginning of the space. I remember reading in your white paper that you guys also planned a way of um, kind of advertising your current your project in its current phase. I think it was social engagement mining, something it was mentioned. I believe it was called like that in your white paper. Is this still on? Are you still incentivizing people to talk about Telestai and spreading the word?
Yeah, so that's something which we've just parked for the moment as we kind of
Okay.
move into the new year. So what we're gonna do is look to create an ambassador program this year,
Mm-hmm.
which will be exciting, and that will be about bringing people in and saying, hey, look, here's some reward for the work that you do in getting out there and talking to people about it. Additionally,
Okay.
we want to reward people who bring, user get user onto the platform. That's something we do want to reward. We think that if you attract users to, but firstly your content, which is great. So if you bring your audience with you, you should get a reward for that. But two, just standard users who, you know, John Smith says to Jack Smith, hey, come join the platform and here's an invite, and if you use the invite I get a bit of a kickback.
Mm-hmm.
I don't see any problem with that. We do want to develop that at some point, and we do want to incentivize people who are posting about it on other platforms somehow. The mechanics around that, that's one of the reasons why we just need to review it for this year is to make sure that it's fair, equitable, and we can support it.
Mm-hmm.
So we initially started with I think Zach had developed this great system where if you made a post on X and you reference certain things, the bot would basically pay you some
Mm-hmm.
TLS as a thank you for what was going on. So that's certainly something that we're open to trialing again at some point when we work it out. Because people should get part of a remuneration for becoming an evangelist to the cause. Why wouldn't we
You're
do that?
you're like a Web3 Robin Hood. You're just trying to spread the wealth.
Yeah.
So whether you're a content creator or a user or you're a shiller, you should get rewarded for talking about us and using our platform. Well, conceptually it's great. This is what Web3 should be about. It
I
shouldn't it
think
shouldn't be.
I think as a content creator that's the incentive. I'm not, but if I were, that's the incentive for me, being able to dictate my prices, having control of my audience. Is that the
Mhm.
plan, getting the creators on the platform, or are you also targeting the users? And
Yeah,
if
well, our
yep.
thought is what we'd like to do is basically say to creators, we want to, people like yourself come on board. Let's produce a show.
Hmm.
If we put it behind a paywall in the sense of your content is desired by your audience, your users need to come on to the platform and work through what that looks like. In that sense, we can start the economy in that way. So that would be sort of what we're aiming to do. That's why we feel like we need to incentivize both user and content creator, at least initially, for coming on board while the platform gains traction, because it is a risk for a content creator to change platform, and we want to make sure that we take care of them, especially when they're being trailblazers, right? They've got to be
Mhm.
given the security that what they're doing isn't going to harm their audience and their their persona, so to speak.
Definitely. I was wondering, do you think what may be the reason that the regular users are more concerned with censorship, decentralization? Are they thinking about this, or is it more like, oh, my favorite YouTuber, I don't know, is getting to Telestai, I want to follow him over there, and that's why I'm joining? Or do you think your audience is really busy with taking control of your data, of your privacy?
I think there's a subset of people who are very concerned with privacy at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
I know through the experience of running this project, there's certain country groups who can't join our Discord, and so they have to reside in Telegram. They're just physically not allowed to join Discord. Part of what we're trying to do is say that's not right. So by being censorship resistant, we're giving those people an ecosystem where they can participate, and there's ways and means for them to do that, which we're opening up to them. There's groups of people in the UK at the moment who are, rightly, wrongly going to jail for social media posts.
Yep.
Which I don't think is right. There's people in
another
other countries.
Insane thing. I can't believe we're in this state. Honestly, it's insane. And we're not talking about totalitarian governments. We're for the people that don't know, we're talking about, old school European countries that are incarcerating people and for saying things that perhaps they shouldn't say. But still, it seems like we're taking a very steep, let's say, a very dangerous road the moment that censorship becomes so blatantly punishable, and it's really worrying. It is worrying.
Yeah, and a lot of credit to Elon for, I think, staving off some of this with his purchase of Twitter. I think. But personally speaking, I think it's problematic having Elon own it too, because he does have his own agenda. He does have his own commercial, interests that can play out on a platform of this size, especially when he's probably the largest user of it. So So the part one is there's a group of people who I think are, fairly concerned about things from a privacy point of view, and they want that ability to say what they need to say, but in a privacy-based way. And the second part is there's just going to be standard normies who, a content creator will look at what we're offering, go, I can make more money, I'm going to go there, and the audience will follow. And so that's part of the creation process is we need to make sure the platform is easy enough to use that that your standard normie, I keep calling them your mum and dad type of user. They need to be able to easily log in and navigate the platform. That's a both an art and a science to get that right. So, but we think it's possible.
I don't know about my mom and dad. They struggle to sign in on their own email, so I think that's a very bad example. Yeah, but you're absolutely right. If this one, I'm gonna ask another question. Sorry for budget,
no,
but there's so
ahead.
much to ask, and I don't want to take too much of your time, Chief. Let me know if we're dragging this too much. By the way, what time is it in your place?
6:10. So kids will be up in 20 minutes. So
all right. I apologize if this is
No,
your day. Sorry, buddy, but we'll try to keep it short if we're messing up everything. We don't want to be responsible for home disasters.
Nah, you're fine, mate. All good.
I have a question in regards to other parts of the white paper. I honestly don't want to go technical, and this is not the intention. But if you could kind of give us an idea of what Mercatus, and sorry if the pronunciation is a disaster, but what your streaming system is about. How do you think that works differently from the ordinary platforms that we're familiar with?
So standard centralized platform, you are the product. They scan all of the data that you have, and they will then offer up advertising and ads according to what you've reviewed. So the clearest indicator on that is when people have been sitting at a dinner table talking about a subject, they pick up their phone, they go to Facebook, and then all of a sudden there's ads for that, conversation that they were talking about posted up. That is where you're the product. Okay. Now we think that's wrong. You're getting basically someone else is making money on the basis of what you are reviewing on online and on what you basically consume from a content point of view. Mercatus is the concept that we want to give users the opportunity to engage with advertisers in a one-to-one relationship themselves. So what we're doing is we're facilitating the means by which a person, if they so choose, so it's opt-in, not required, can stream their viewing and streaming behaviors straight through to the Mercatus platform, and bundle their data of what they're buying, what they're reviewing, what they're watching, all of that stuff. Bundle it with other users who are doing the same, and advertisers can purchase that data for a price. So what that means is the advertiser will then pay, and that payment will then be split equally back down to the users. So users will then get the opportunity to make money on a platform as well. So you basically going to get paid for doing what you do normally, provided you're utilizing the Zorilla app and the streaming part of that. Now, why we think that's important is, again, it removes the advertising bent that certain platforms have. So when Elon bought Twitter, he obviously had issues with advertising. People were pulling advertising, and that threatened the platform's future. What we're saying is actually, if advertisers want to talk to customers or consumers, they need to do that in a one-to-one relationship and pay them. Now that'll do a couple of things. One, it'll give advertisers some really unique insights to what's going on because it'll be real time. But two, it'll mean that users get the chance to opt into all those data elements rather than being told that they have to do it when they sign up to their terms of service. So that's kind of the idea.
And it's currently in testnet.
Yes, correct. Yeah, so it does functionally work, and it has been shown to work. It's just we're in the process now going, okay, so we've got the actual pipes working. How do we turn this into something that advertisers will want to get a handle of and then also pay for, and they'll pay in TLS as well. So we just need to do the work on that now.
That's pretty important. It's important that you mentioned the fact that everybody pays in TLS. So the whole ecosystem around this project is literally funded by TLS, correct?
Correct. Yeah. Which
so
is what
users
crypto should be.
Correct. So users, content creators, viewers, advertisers, everybody will be interacting one with each other exclusively through TLS.
Correct. Yeah.
Which, by the way, this is my old trader me that likes to talk about prices. You guys have been doing quite well, chart wise. How much do you care about this?
The chart.
Yeah.
I care about it for miners, and I care about it for people who have bought. So in as much as I want them to get benefit. Yeah, absolutely for them. You can't stare at a chart and think that it's going to go up. It's always an ever-present part of a project, but I think if you stare at it too often, you become obsessed with it and you make short-term decisions to pump rather than making long-term decisions to actually grow. The one thing I have learned in crypto is usage on chain usually equals volume. Volume usually equals price realization. Price realization usually equals hash, and then it becomes a cycle. We're building an ecosystem that requires the use of TLS deliberately to create volume because we want the coin to be used plenty. When that coin is used plenty, you'll see normies buying it, right? And that's the buy pressure that you want, because they obviously won't be miners. And in that sense, you will create, a requirement for the coin that is not previously there. I think that's where we've tried to be smart about things because the use of the coin is critical to the success of the project. If we were to integrate, for instance, a stable coin or Bitcoin as a payment system, the platform will fall over because it won't be able to. The coin itself just won't gain traction, and therefore it'll be useless because everyone else did use the other coins, and why wouldn't they? So it's a closed ecosystem at that level. It needs to be TLS, and what that does is it prioritizes miners. It means miners are the bedrock of the ecosystem and should be treated appropriately so. And then everyone else, filters in through there.
So if somebody that was listening now were to be interested into getting involved with you guys, whether it's holding coin or whether it's mining, what would you suggest they start out with? What would be the best place to start?
First thing is follow us on X, so you can see what we're talking about. Secondly, join the Discord so that you can engage with the community itself, and you can chat with us about what we're doing. We love feedback, so we want to hear from people. Third thing is if you're wanting to help with the consensus of the chain, fire up a GPU and start to mine. We appreciate that, and we think that that's a way that you can participate. And if you you don't have a GPU, but you want some coin, ZX and Trago are the two places you can find it. That would be my second follow-up to that.
So you mentioned two centralized exchanges. What about, are there any swaps on which you can find Telestai right now?
Yeah, there is a wrapped version of it. We do say that it's best and most secure for you to utilize the native coin. But for those who, we do have an Ethereum-based wrapped coin, WTLS, which is available on Uniswap, I believe it is. You can also have a chat to me. We do over-the-counter trades for people who want to just buy coin in bulk. And don't want to navigate the exchange itself.
Okay. Well, I have to say, it's been an hour now that we've been into this, and considering the time difference, I'm feeling guiltier by the minute. We've been asking you plenty of questions, and we've been busting your balls with specifics. Is there anything that you would like to say to wrap things up, or that we haven't covered that you think might be of particular interest to people that have been listening?
Oh, look, I think the thing that we just want to say is, join in. People often like ideas, but they don't necessarily, jump in with both feet. And I suppose at some level, we're not saying it needs to be both feet, but, definitely 1 foot, or even, a couple of toes. We're not going to bite, and we want to build something that people want to use, right? So we're going to listen, and we should listen, because feedback is really critical to the development of what we're building. We'd love to hear from people, so jump into the community and get involved, because that will help. That will help heaps.
All right, I think that sums it up perfectly. Chief, thank you very much for spending all this time with us. I hope that you're going to be catching some sleep at least before starting your day. But honestly, we can guarantee one thing: we'll be part of your community for sure. I've been in there for a while now. I've been thinking about grabbing some TLS, and honestly, your project seems so promising that it's almost unreal. But the way that you've been describing what you have envisioned and how things are planned make it seem a lot more tangible than they used to be. So I'm sure this is really good for whoever's listening, because we're talking about something that is in a very early stage. You guys started really recently the development of Telestai. So whoever joins, exactly. So it's not very often that you get to speak to to a developer or a founder of a project so early into the game. But you guys have done amazing work, and your community is very strong. So I honestly think that this is one of those projects that are absolutely worth looking into, and the real world application of it seems to be very viable. It's not a mythological creature. It's something that can be done. So I'm pretty sure that you guys really figured it out. So I'm happy that we had this chance to talk and get to know you guys better. Um, I have nothing more to ask. I think I've asked everything that I could. I don't know if Deso has something to add, or we can let Chief sleep.
No, we're gonna let the chief sleep. I want to thank you too for being indeed this early in talks with us, with people. It was very useful for me. I hope for others as well. So thank you very much.
No worries. Thank you guys for having us. Appreciate it.
All right. Thank you very much. Make sure you guys follow Telestai on X and join their community on Discord. You will not regret it. These guys are fun to hang around with. We just started with Upsiders, our community. We're a small group but very focused. So I hope that you'll join us as well. Thank you, everybody. Have a good day. Bye bye.
Bye bye.